Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Welcome to another episode of the Talk and Power podcast. We are back, episode 83, and this is, I'm going to call this the COVID-19 series, where we're having to do this via Zoom, actually, but it's a technology that I think a lot of people are using. Welcome to my co-host, Simon Gonzo Travellini. Thanks for joining us, Simon.
Hello to everyone there. Nick's actually lying. We're right next to each other, but we've rigged up this elaborate thing to make it look like all the other celebrities around the world. You know what I've learned from all of this is that you can get away with really, really bad quality video.
You can. Isn't it amazing? Do you think there's... We'll talk about it now, just briefly. Do you think we'll ever get back to big dollar productions and studios and stuff like that, or will this be the
Absolutely.
New norm? Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, because, I mean, you appreciate good quality productions now, like ours.
Yeah. So this is, we're making most of the technology, and we're following the government guidelines from Dr. Brendan Murphy. So we're practicing all those the social distancing. So we're doing this. I think I was going to measure it before. I think we're about 10 Ks apart. So, and Todd will be joining us shortly as well,
which is probably about 30 Ks from me.
Good. That's true. Hey, look, I just want to quickly touch on, talking of COVID-19, the coronavirus. How has it affected you anyway? And I mean, you personally, the family life, and work, and all those sorts of things.
Look, work-wise, the transmission side of the business has really dropped off. It's dramatically dropped off. The torque converters did drop off, not as bad, but the transmission side, which was a relatively new business, it has affected that. So obviously, there's a lot of people that were planning on building cars, and they've put those plans on hold, whether it be because they've lost work or whatever. In terms of the turnover of the business, there has been a dramatic reduction. I had to let 2 staff go, and I've got 1 staff week on, week off. Now, is it going to turn around? Eventually it will. And like many of the people in the industry believe, there's going to be a big backlog that will need to be filled. Yeah. So it's an interesting time. I mean, as far as family life goes, it has had an effect because you need to understand that the way the law is written, it says that you need to live under that household to, so it's the people in that household and 1 more person. So it makes it impossible for us to visit family or for family to visit us and stay legal. And we kind of want to make sure that our kids don't get it. At first, they made it sound like it didn't affect children, but now you're seeing some of the statistics and people. I mean, there was a 21-year-old that passed away the other day. It's just now, who it affects and who it doesn't, they haven't figured that out yet. So, it is a pretty big deal. And that brings me to my next point. I'm really offended by the NRL bringing the competition back online as quickly as they're talking about. I think that is really, really ridiculous. And I think that anyone that's in any sort of governmental role that's given them permission, because apparently one of the police commissioners in New South Wales, possibly, I wasn't really paying that much attention, has given the NRL permission to resume activities. I think that's pathetic and really sad that they're so concerned about themselves and not the rest of the world. Well, the slogan is we're all in this together. So these guys are just worried about their fat checks at the end of the day. And the AFL is even more pathetic, where you've got players that are on over $1 million a year and they're crying about a salary cut. Even if they copped a 90% pay cut, they'd still be on over $100,000 a year, which is a lot more than the average person earns. I just really think it's shown the true colours of these sports people. and the club's talking about not refunding memberships and so on and so forth. Now, the Eagles claim, and you know what? I believe them as much as I believe the Chinese. They claim that they've had an influx of members during this period. I think they're just trying to cover up the truth. And this talk about that they're the club that the other clubs want to be like. They've got a $25 million reserve, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you've got the reserve, what are you worried about? You shouldn't even be talking about. You should be telling the other clubs, hey, listen, let's sit it out for a year. Let's forget the 2020 competition and get ready for 2021. And then you've got, the ridiculous comments of Mick Malthouse saying that if the competition resumes, they shouldn't count the first round. It should be considered a practice game. Just pathetic.
It's all an attempt to keep them in the media. But here's one thing I will say, because I made a note I wanted to talk about the AFL. I think the AFL is scheduling more later in June now. I think they've realised that April wasn't going to be possible, neither is May, and they're talking now later June. The one thing I will say is this. AFL sold the rights to their game many years ago to pay TV. And at that stage, they sold their soul, in my view. Now they're asking some of the clubs, not all of them, but some of them are asking to keep, if they can hang on to those memberships as a donation. I think it's wrong that members have to ring up the club and ask for their membership to be refunded. What they should be doing is asking, we will refund your money. However, if you want us to keep it, we'll do that, but here's the refund. And I think it's
100%,
absolutely 100%. Disgraceful. Eddie Maguire going on TV and saying that, there's an expectation it should be a donation. No, there's an expectation you should be refunding the money. And then some people will want you to keep it as a donation, but if we're going to make that sort of donation to a footy club, let's do it to the local footy club down the road here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Nick, I've got a solution for this. You know me, I'm all about solutions, right? What I think this should happen is the Waffle should talk to Channel 7 or Foxtel, whoever, and we should talk about, as a West Australian deal, taking over the TV time that was allocated to the AFL. That's what I believe should happen, because you could run a local competition. You could do it. And you could merge the WA AFL players into the Waffle teams. And if it was really an extreme concern where you needed to, try and mandate the social distancing, well, these clubs, not so much the WAFL, but the AFL, particularly if the West Coast Eagles have got a cash reserve of $25 million, they could certainly fund putting them all up in the same hotel room so that they were part of the same household. It's doable. It is very much doable. And I think that is the smartest solution rather than interstate travel. I mean, there are so many people involved. It's not just the players. You've got the coaching team. You've got all the people that are involved in the commentary. You've got the people that are involved behind the scenes. The simplest things like the people that clean the towels and wash the change rooms and so on and so forth. And there is so much possibility for disease to be spread across Australia. Now, we're very lucky in WA. We're not, if you look in terms of population, at one stage Victoria looked like the place to be, pardon the pun. But right now, WA is looking pretty good. And I think talking to the general public out there, it's because people are genuinely concerned and people are genuinely trying to do the right thing. You got the other extreme in New South Wales where Bondi Beach looked busier than ever. It's just a joke. So that tells you that you can't trust people, right? So the only way you're going to pull this off is to do something like that. The bottom line is what COVID-19 has brought to the people is it's shown everyone how greedy, particularly the AFL and the NRL are at the end of the day. And these clubs are talking about, it's not sustainable, we'll go broke, blah, blah, blah. At one stage, they were just like the local football clubs. That's how they started. Could have been 100 years ago, could have been 20 years ago, but that's how they started. So let's not forget that. They can scale back down. They can get rid of some of the unnecessary assets. They can ask their directors to take pay cuts. They can ask their managers to take pay cuts. They can ask their coaches to take pay cuts. Like I said, consider a player that's on over $1 million a year. Even if he has to cop a 90% pay cut, he's still on over $100,000 a year, right? Which is more than what most people earn.
That's exactly right. Yep. No, I'm hearing you loud and clear, and I had it in the notes that I wanted to have a bit, but you've basically covered everything that I wanted to say. Really disappointed with the AFL. Really disappointed with a number of presidents and whatnot that run these footy clubs suddenly putting their hand out for a donation when you took the money for TV rights. That doesn't stick with me. Does not stick with me at all. I'm really
not a lot different to the airlines, Nick. Not a lot different to the airlines.
Yeah.
You know, Virgin puts their hand out. These companies make billions of dollars of profit, and you know, and they're owned by other big companies. It's not like there's a mum and dad shareholder that's going to lose money over this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It just shows you the greed of the system. Meanwhile, the banks are making more money than ever. You know, who's going to bring them to task? Who's going to say, you know what, you shouldn't be charging interest on credit cards for this period of time. Let's let it slide. Landlords have got to cop it. Landlords can't evict people at the moment. So there's this crazy imbalance going on around the world now. And in particular in Australia. Australia just seems to be, you know, but I'll tell you, the other thing that is really important to bear in mind is the amount of corruption that we're dealing with. If the NRL does go back online, that tells you that they've got direct links to members in government. It's as simple as that. And that's really sad because no one should have that kind of power.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hey, moving along, just wanted to, it would be remiss of us not to discuss the passing of Sir Sterling Moss. Formula One icon, never won a championship, but probably one of the most recognisable names in motorsport. And really sad to hear his passing at 90 years of age yesterday. And I just was saddened to hear that news. Where, you know, great man, great person. Came out to Australia a lot actually. Spent a lot of time here in Australia. I don't know if you recall the 76 Bathurst. He actually teamed up with Sir Jack Brabham in a Torana at the 76 race, and they actually stalled the car, or they got stuck. It got stuck in neutral, couldn't get it into gear. They got hit from behind. Anyway, they managed to start the race after they repaired the back of the car. Anyway, they had an engine failure and they were out of the race. But, you know, fond memories. I don't remember that race, but fond memories of a lot of the stuff that he had done, Sir Sterling Moss. So I was really sad to see him go.
Also, another one that passed away actually of COVID-19 was Tim Brooke-Taylor from the Goodies.
Very sad. I was really sad to hear that. I was a big Goodies fan when I was a kid. I used to love that show.
Same.
And really sad to hear of his passing this morning as well. So lots of things happening in the world at the moment. And it's
sure, I'm sure a lot less people would have been sad if it was Bill Oddie, but...
But yeah, look, none of this. It was very sad indeed. The other thing I just want to get him back to, we don't want to talk too many politics. I haven't got this in the notes, but I just want to shout out to Mark McGowan. We've had a bit of political chat on this podcast in the past, but I just want to say, Mark McGowan, I feel him and Roger Cook are leading this state magnificently, and I'm really proud to call myself West Australian at the moment.
And also the treasurer
Ben White.
Ben White coming back after his retirement.
Yep.
Just the WA Labor team that we've got in now, I would have to say it's probably one of the best political teams that has been in WA. The way they've handled this crisis has just been incredible.
Yep. Yeah, they have. They've been incredible. And I take my hat off to Mark McGowan and the team, Roger Cook, and really proud of him. Even Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, Dr. Brendan Murphy, and even the federal government. I think they've done a magnificent job, and we're really proud to call ourselves Australians, and in particular West Australians. Anyway, we'll take a short break there, and we'll be back right after this. All right, so I wanted to know if you've been catching a lot of the news from the Formula One. It's been a pretty tumultuous few days, well, a few weeks really, in Formula One, and we've had a number of teams now have had to put staff onto leave, or what they call in the UK furlough. So Liberty Media or Formula One themselves have put basically 500 workers on extended leave, and now Renault have also joined Racing Point and McLaren to do the same thing as well. So we're talking, mass redundancies here. A lot of them in the UK. The UK teams have jumped and done this because in the UK, the taxpayer or the government, the UK government, will foot the bill up to 80% of the employees' wages. A lot of people in the UK not particularly happy with that because they feel that Formula One teams should have enough in the bank to cover their workers and can keep them employed, even though they're not racing. It just goes to prove how big this pandemic has turned out to be, and the sort of effect it's had on some of these teams. It's incredible.
Look, they might. I mean, but it depends on whether they're still going to get their sponsorship money. On the one hand. On the other hand is you need to realise that a lot of, most businesses these days, big businesses, are run by accountants. And if the opportunity exists for them to cash in, so to speak, like you said, 80% of the wages paid, then they're probably going to do it. It's very hard to distinguish between, certain businesses. I understand. I mean, it's a sad situation. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can really do. Formula One itself, I mean, it's interesting that that they're getting backed because they're US owned. So I would have thought that, that it would fall under some US deal rather than England having to pay for it.
But the office.
It is surprising. I mean, you'd be devastated if you lost one of your top engineers to your rival team.
Well, Mercedes and Ferrari have kept the status quo. They haven't let anyone off yet. They haven't put any people off. So that's great to hear from those two. The other team I forgot was Williams as well. Williams was another team that have had to put staff off as well. So all the UK based teams, with the exception of Red Bull, have had to put staff off. So
what about McLaren?
McLaren have too, yeah. McLaren have put staff
off.
See,
that's surprising because you would think they'd be able to repurpose them in the manufacturing side.
You would have thought
and
so,
with the forward, and with the forward orders on their road cars, because my understanding is their road cars are sold before they even begin production.
Yeah, that's true. They are. And interestingly enough, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, drivers for McLaren, two drivers that have confirmed reasonable pay cuts as well. So pretty sad to hear that actually from that, but that's at this stage.
Reasonable.
Reasonable
pay
it was
cuts.
In the vicinity of 70%. So,
But hang on a second. Hang on a second. If you're getting paid $20 million a year and you take a 70% pay cut, but that's still $6 million. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel sorry for him in any sort of imaginable time period.
No, that's fair enough. No, I get all that. It's interesting that the situation that Formula One finds themselves in as well now. They're talking, this is reports, however, not we haven't heard this from Liberty Media themselves. They're already in the hole, 200 million pounds in reimbursements they need to make for the first 6 Formula One races that have been we'll call them postponed for the time being. So Australia's been cancelled and Monte Carlo's been cancelled. Both those races are now off. As you know, but the other ones have been postponed. But the promoters are looking like the bill's racking up, and it's at 200. It's reported at 200 million pounds. Liberty Media have yet to make an announcement about that, what they're going to do with that, or how they envisage repaying it. Ross Brawn came out the other day, and still thinks he can get 19 races away or 18 races away from July 5th onwards. And I've got the calendar here. I'm not going to read it out, but it's basically racing 3 weeks in a row, having 1 week off, then another 3 weeks, 1 week off, and they race right up until the 6th of December.
So how much did they pay for Formula One when they brought it?
Well, according to Forbes, according to Forbes, they paid $4.6 billion in January of 2017. So that
So
is a
yeah,
reasonable...
the 200 million must really be hurting him. Yep.
Anyway,
How many billion again? How many billion was that again, Nick?
4.6 billion.
4.6 billion. 4.6 billion. Yeah, no, that 200 million, that'd be crippling him. They paid cash, didn't they? Cash? Was it $100 notes, Nick, or
50s apparent? 50s. Don't know. But anyway, we're really curious to see what's happening there in the
And
Formula
how many
One
people
space.
did they lay off? How many people did they lay off
500,
again?
500 in the UK.
500.
That's a huge
500.
amount, really. They could have muscled through.
$4.6 billion they paid.
Yeah,
for
you
it.
think about that.
4.6 billion. 4.6. So is Bernie going to chuck a few bucks in?
No,
pass the hat around?
Bernie doesn't have anything to do with that anymore, but he was quoted as saying as recently as today, he says the democracy that Liberty Media have created doesn't actually work in Formula One, needs to go back to, he doesn't use the word dictatorship, but needs to go back to what you would perceive as a dictatorship where you have one guy ruling the roost.
You don't see it as a dictatorship now?
I think the teams have a little bit too much of a say, but it'll be interesting. In saying that, in the same breath, I think for the sport to move forward, I can't see the sport moving forward without Renault and Honda being part of the deal. If those two guys, if Honda and Renault fall out of Formula One, I don't think we got Formula One to go back to. I really don't. There's no talk that Honda will, but as an engine supplier...
Nick, something I can tell you is that there's always some billionaire ready to put their hand up. That's the reality.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You look at the teams that are there now.
Yeah. But what my question in the closing of the notes here for Formula One was, where to from here? Can we continue with this hybrid technology? I mean, I guess we kind of have to, but if we see Renault and Honda pull out of the sport because they can't continue with that technology, I'm not saying that's what they've said, but in my mind, I see that as an issue. How long can the sport survive with just Mercedes and Ferrari? My answer would be no. So how long do we keep chipping away at hybrid technology?
I mean, like I said, I think it's got to go one way or the other. It either needs to stay full. It either needs to go full electric or stay internal combustion. One or the other. That's where we're going to go. The other thing that you've got to realise is that there's a real risk of something even more radical happening, and that's what we're seeing now with the V8 supercars, where they're basically playing a computer game.
Well, you know what? Let's just take a break right here, and we're gonna chat about that right after the break. So let's take a break here. Good time to take a break. We'll be back with that right after this. All right. Well, you alluded to it just before the break, V8 Supercars and the E-Series. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest. I have not watched a minute of this, not a second of it, and I probably won't. I'm not interested in the slightest, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. But I don't know if you've seen any of it yourself. Have you watched any of it?
I was shocked that they had it on the news. I was absolutely shocked.
But maybe it's a masterstroke.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Right? Pro Autos, I can't remember the guy's name now, the owner.
Greg.
I believe Greg has one of those simulators.
Yeah, he probably would. Greg, yep. I've never seen it myself, but...
I believe that he does. Now, if he does, right, does that suggest that people, privateers, let's call them, could join in on this E-Series? And if they did... and they were better. I mean, at the end of the day, Scotty McLaughlin won the race that they had on the news, which I think was fantastic because there is no suggestion of any possibility of cheating or having a better unit or anything like that. Now, but if the case is such, and a privateer comes along and can compete against these guys and beats them, right? So, like, I'm thinking, a 10-year-old kid or something like that, then does it question the whole sport?
Of course it does. It puts it into a huge question mark over it.
Right. So then once we get to that stage, which is where we need to go, we need to encourage this, and we need to get, like 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds involved driving these simulators, right? And until we get a gaming expert that goes out there and kicks their ass, then we need to question how much money these guys are getting paid. Alternatively, you can argue, well, esports is a big thing. It brings in millions of dollars. There are esports players that get paid millions of dollars to play esports. I don't know. To me, we are every day with new technology getting further and further away from all the things that attracted me to motorsports. It's like turbo cars in drag racing. It kind of like, yeah, go fast, but, it's not drag racing. Drag racing is that steampunk style of mechanical injection and magnetos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree entirely.
Same with V8 supercars. I mean, the Group C championship, in my opinion, was something that I still to this day look back on with fond memories and wish that the racing still could be like that the cars could still be like that, where there was a direct connection between what you saw on the racetrack and what was sitting in your driveway.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
We haven't got that anymore. We've got a tube frame with arguably almost exactly the same componentry from front to rear, covered in a composite body. So it's a nothing car. It's it might as well have a hot rod body on it or a fantasy car body, because it doesn't mean anything. Now, as far as
sorry, I was just going to say, have you ever picked up one of those composite body panels? One of my customers has got one off the Red Bull car, the rear quarter. It will blow you away how light that thing is. Yeah. It is nothing like, it is just touching it and feel it. May look from 50 feet away like a real car, but it's when you pick it up and touch it, my God.
Nah.
It's incredible.
It's dimensionally completely different.
It's actually, different. I actually kind of sized it up with my own car, and it's completely different. Yeah, I had a VE. Yeah, I know. That was a VF, but still same thing.
Now the thing is, Nick, the reason that our V8 Supercar Series or Touring Car Championship was so popular internationally was because people believed that they were basically road cars, unlike NASCAR. So you go to America and you talk to them about it, and they'll tell you, oh, that's awesome that you guys have got a series where the cars are exactly the same as the road cars. And when you tell them, no, they're not. They're tube frame, composite body. They're in shock. They're in absolute shock. They just can't believe it. They feel betrayed. That's sold to them as if it is that.
Yeah.
So, this is just the next, if it becomes, look, they don't care. They don't care what we think.
No.
Right? All they care about is money. That's the bottom line. That doesn't matter whether it's the team bosses, the drivers, the people selling the TV rights, the people buying the TV rights. It's all about money. So if the E-Series becomes popular and people watch it, you never know. That might be the future. Now, as to how do you work your way up through the ranks and become an E-Series driver, I don't know. But like I said, I would love to get some kid, like a school kid who's a gaming junkie, and throw him in one of these simulators and see whether he can kick their asses. Because it would be funny. It would be absolutely funny.
I can assure you now there'd probably be at least 1,000 sub 16-year-olds in Australia that would be able to do that quite easily.
I don't know, Nick. I don't, because the fact is Scotty McLaughlin won, right? Which tells me that he's a better driver than the rest of them. And all those guys practice in those simulators day in, day out. So I don't know whether it would happen, but it would put a big question mark over the whole sport. It would put a big question mark over motorsports in general.
But you have to say, even if a 16-year-old was able to master an E-Series type of game, you put them into a real car, and once they get the feel of the real speed and the sound and the brakes, they wouldn't be able to compete at that level. No way. This is the difference.
No,
It's
no,
all
though.
very well to 100%.
Mate, I'll tell you now, right? It doesn't matter what sport it is. Okay. Number one, commitment's important to put the hours into practice, right? And that practicing, what it does is it gives you muscle memory. That's you develop muscle memory. And I would argue the fact that if someone is physically good enough, right? If their body is physically, so, obviously you can't get someone that's 100 years old, right? Because, their body's deteriorated. But if someone's physically good enough to be able to do it, it just comes down to the commitment, and the rest of it's practice.
Yeah.
I would argue that fact. I mean, over the years, I've seen some touring car drivers that have, basically had rich parents that got them the drives. And they may not have won everything, but they did all right. And then when you see them get into lower categories, they do very well because they've got the time. If you're in that kind of position where you don't need to work, you could spend 24 hours a day in your simulator or on your go-kart or whatever it is. And it's the same as a kid who just sits in front of the screen and plays the computer games. He's committed to that. The thing is, Nick, in the old days, the reason that the racers got, a decent, they didn't really get paid a lot of money. It was more the notoriety that brought them the bonuses of being a motor racing driver. Was because it was bloody dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? You look at those old Formula One cars, they had no roll cage. The helmets were basically a horse riding helmet. They didn't have fire suits. Some of the really early stuff didn't even have seatbelts in it. Right? And they died on a regular basis. So, you look at risk versus return, you can sort of understand where it came from. Take a more modern Formula One car or a modern V8 supercar, the chances of you getting hurt are so slim, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But the financial return that they get is phenomenal, like crazy. It's not just the money the teams pay them. Then there's the bonuses that they get from advertising and so on and so forth, endorsing products. So, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. My only, you just think about, I always think about Strain Van Gisbergen, and I use him as the example these days. Very aggressive driver. Can you imagine him behind you? You're going down Conrod Straight. You're about to enter the Caltex Chase. It's not called that anymore, but it's the Chase. You're 300 k's an hour. He's right on your tail, and he's just disrupting your rear wing, your air, on the back of the car's getting loose. You get out of it. Most drivers someone with that lack of experience would get out of it. If you're an E-Series champion and you're great at that, you stay into it. But when you feel that car get loose, for real, I think it's a different story. And he's a master at that.
Brake test him. Brake test. Brake test all day.
I know you're not a big SVG fan, but he is the master of that, and he has the ability to disrupt your car without even touching your car. So that's where I think, anyway, look, hats off to the supercars for doing it. I've written here.
But do you know if anyone's watching it?
I don't believe so. No, it was on Foxtel and it's on Twitch as well, which I haven't got into yet. It's a new form of social media. I haven't been, I'm not going to say too old for it. I'm not there. And if people want to know about the E-Series, please don't tune into our podcast because we're not going to be covering it. I'm telling you now, we are a visceral podcast. We cover visceral motorsports where you can hear, smell, and feel the cars, not some electronics.
Yeah, that is that's the thing. There is nothing on the planet like going to the drags and experiencing two top fuel cars going down. Nothing. Not even the launch of the space shuttle can really compare Similar horsepower, but
But listen to Phil Lemartina's interview. He said it clearly. Even in his interview, he has the best seat in the house and the worst seat in the house, because sitting in the car, he doesn't get that shockwave. Sitting in the crowd, you feel the shockwave, and it's so true. And there's no other sport in the world. It's a visceral feeling. You cannot take that away. Electronic games will never do that.
There are a lot of things that I miss about the old days of motorsport. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but going to any racetrack, regardless of whether it was the drags or V8 supercars or wherever, and the first thing you'd get is that smell of race fuel, that distinct, the aviation gasoline smell.
I love it. And the rubber as well, obviously, if you got there a little bit later.
The rubber,
the rubber as well. That's like people get. And the sound. You're getting out of your car in the car park that might be a kilometre away from the track still, or a reasonable distance away, and you hear it. There's nothing like it in the world. Nothing.
Yeah, I know. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Anyway, look, we'll take a short break here, and we'll be back right after this. All right. Look, I just want to break from the notes here. I actually reached out to our sponsors, most of our sponsors today, or nearly all of them, and just wanted to have just to let people know that they are open for business, and it's business as usual at most places. The first one off the rank I just want to talk about is actually your business, Simon. So All Fast Torque Converters, business as usual for you guys, as you were saying before. Where can we find you? Where can people go?
Well, you can call us 9249-3066. No, it is business as usual. Like I said, we got a couple less staff because there is a bit of a downturn. But still building transmissions, still building torque converters, still doing chassis work.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, a couple of the big projects there are coming along quite well. Well into them. Obviously, we slowed down a little bit because the season got cut short. We were hoping to debut one of the cars a bit later in the season, like possibly the last meeting or the Wednesday nights following that. But it is what it is. Speaking of debuting something new, John Zarbo contacted me earlier today, and he said that he sort of suggests that he might be releasing a sneak photo or some video of his new radial barra. Now, apparently it's going to be running a lot of spray.
Wow.
So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that one on the WA Radio page or on Facebook.
Looking forward to seeing that and hearing from John.
Who else is still open? Benzene's still open? So
Benzene Detailing. Johnny wanted to say that he's still open, and even though a lot of car shows have been closed, he said, get in now. Even though the car shows have slowed down, he's reasonably busy, but he'll fit you in and get you in there. Now, he also wanted to say as well that I've known Johnny for years, and he is the cleanest guy you'll ever meet in your life. He's taken it to a next level. Everything, I can assure you, everything's sanitized. There's no contact there. He will sanitize the inside of your car as well. So if you're concerned, if you had concerns there, you shouldn't have had concerns beforehand. You certainly shouldn't have concerns now. So he's great, and he's open for business. Also reached out to Rob Harvey at Monster Torque. He's busy building ZF transmissions at the moment for the East Coast and WA, but they are open for business, and really looking forward 100%. To catching up with you. Stewie Bond,
WA Suspensions. Yep.
He's doing a lot of work at the moment. Stewie, you can catch him on his Facebook page. He's working on a VK Brocky for Tim Slako at the moment. And Rachel, which she is the tech person for House of Colour here in WA. She's got a magnificent C10 truck. You can check that out at Facebook. But Stewie's very busy as well, and would really, and even though he's busy, would really appreciate the business as well. They do supply to essential services, so no matter what, they will be open. So Stewie Bonds at WA Suspensions, they are open for business. Shift Kits Australia as well reached out to Jamie. He's pretty busy at the moment, but he's still. You can check out his builds at facebook.com Shift Kits Ost. So that's facebook.com Shift Kits Ost, or go to his website shiftkits.com.au, so you can read all about his stuff that he's doing there. And also Charlie Galotto, SEM Race Engines, they're busy as well, and they're taking the necessary precautions. If you want to drop a car off, they're doing all the necessary things as well. It goes without saying, all these guys are doing the necessary precautions.
And I believe Grant is still open also at Performance Turbocharging.
Okay, yep, Grant as well. There you go. So, and look, as I said, I just thought it was, I don't, it's really hard to say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I know a lot of us are having financial difficulties, but if you are thinking about doing some work to your car, try and support these guys, not just these guys, but even the whole WA performance industry. If you live close to someone in particular, support them, because these guys are open. They're having to pay rent still. They're having to like yourself, support a family as well. So if we can support the local WA performance industry, that would be really great. And not just Australia, not just Western Australia, but the entire Australia. No matter where you are, we have listeners from all over the country, and in the United States, of course, we have a lot of listeners over there. Support your local performance, whether it be an engine tuning place. Try and support them as best you can. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. I wanted to reach out because it's important that we try and support these guys. Right. Now, drag racing, we talked about John Szabo just quickly before. I just wanted to run through the Perth Motorsplex season has finished. Just wanted to go through some of the winners of the season, and they are, starting off in junior dragster, Brodie Zapier, son of Richard and nephew to John. So congratulations to Brodie. In Super Street, John Szabo's very good friend, Richard Stevens, he took out Super Street Championship. Super Sedan, it was Mick Fenton, so well done to him. In Modified, Nick Panagopoulos, well done, Nick. Top Sportsman, Albie Bakranich, congratulations to him. Mod Bike, it was Brian Hotka. Congratulations there. In Comp Bike, it was Wayne Patterson. Super Comp, Errol Quartermain. Supercharged Outlaws, Jody Mellett. Outlaw Radial, you'll be happy with this one. Kevin Bolton, well done, Kevin.
I think, to be honest with you, I think most of those people you just read out have got our converters. Or
I was about to say that most of those guys would have a lot of your gear in there. In Top Comp, it was Wayne Keys. Now, Wayne Keys did the double. He also won the Gary Miosevich Award of Excellence. That went to a voting, 3-2-1 voting. I don't know. Don't ask me who votes, but he won that as well. And he has a great speech on the Motorplex page, thanking everyone. It's really great. Catch that if you can. Nitro Bike, it was Greg Durack. SummerSlam, it was John Zapier. Rookie Rider of the Year was Simon Garbutt. And Rookie Driver of the Year, Adrian Pearsall. So that was in one of the Tango cars. But the award that I've left to last to announce, great friend of the podcast, great friend of you and myself, Liz Johns, she took out the Steve Eggleston 507 award. This is an award that's given from, it was the late Steve Eggleston. For those listeners that haven't heard of that name, he was a name that was really synonymous in Western Australia in drag racing, especially in Ravenswood. Lovely fellow Steve. We raced him a few times, if you remember, on those Sunday afternoon meets. He had that Triumph TR7 from memory. Yeah.
Correct.
Anyway, this award is in honour of him, and it was an award to be given to a female, not necessarily given to a racer or a points winner or a bracket in particular. Moreover, a female who shows overall sportsmanship and being involved in the sport of drag racing and makes an overall difference to the sport of drag racing. Well, let me tell you, Liz Johns is the epitome of that, and I couldn't
100%.
think of a better recipient for that. Congratulations, Liz. I think it's she typifies the drag racing community spirit, no doubt about it. I know you did a lot of work with Rick and Liz when you were crewing with Ralph as well.
Oh, yeah, and we've supported the West Australian Drag Racing Association as well. And Liz has been heavily involved in that. She's, She lives for the sport. Great people, absolute champions.
They are. They are.
Well deserved.
They are the nicest people. You'll meet Rick and Liz, and they're grandparents now. And I remember going to WASMA meetings many years ago. Liz used to bring her youngest daughter, and I think her name, forgive me if I'm wrong, I think it's Hannah. Sorry, Hannah, if I got it wrong, but I remember she was only a little kid. She's grown up, but her older daughters, Liz's daughters, have got kids of their own now, so they're enjoying their grandparent duties these days. So congratulations to Liz. She's a really fitting winner. On that note, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with a new segment right after this. All right, Simon. Yeah, new did that come out? Sorry.
Stigment.
Anyway, we got a new stigment. Apparently, that's how it came out. Sorry, new segment. It's called the 3 from TNP, but I don't know where Todd is. So Todd hasn't turned up for this podcast, so I'll have to ring him tomorrow and find out where he was. So it'll only be the 2 from TNP. Doesn't rhyme, but the 3 from TNP. It's basically the top 3 list from each one of us on a particular topic. And this week I picked out, if you had to take a road trip in WA, what your weapon of choice would be, tell us why, and where the destination will be. So I'll go first. It's basically, I picked out this beauty. I've actually always wanted to get one. I haven't been able to afford it, but this is what I had in mind. You can probably see that on the screen now. So beautiful. That one's actually 67, sorry. Galaxy. Don't know if you saw that, Simon. Did you see that?
Yeah. I've got it on the notes in front of me.
Oh, okay. That's true. Anyway, so a lot of people like the ultimate cruising car, and I think my ultimate destination would be to drive from here up to Kununurra. I love Kununurra. Those that know me know I have a love affair with Kununurra. I get up there once a year for work. But hopefully one day I'll get to take a road trip and I'll get to take that Galaxy up there. I think that would be awesome.
Just so how many people are in the car?
Just me and my wife.
That's two people.
Yeah, 2 people. Yep. It's a 2-door. This particular one was a coupe, but you can fit 4 people in there. But no, just me and my wife going up there. I don't know.
No, I'm just wondering what the premise is of the road trip here.
That can be whatever the premise you want it to be. Whatever you want.
You know, like are we talking a Cannonball Run style?
It can be. It's your ultimate road trip. So it can be your ultimate. Mine, you know me, what I'm like. I wouldn't be the type to probably participate in a Cannonball Run. I'd like to watch it from afar, but you're not going to see me participating in that, are you? So, but tell us what your ultimate road trip would be and what you'd use.
I think I may have already done it.
Yeah.
When I was I was still a teenager. I used to have a Capri with a 302 Windsor in it.
Yep. And
me and a couple of guys went from Perth right through the southwest, all through the rainforests in that car and back. And, that was a lot of fun. And then not long after that, me, Emiliano, Jason Alich and Mel Clementi in a SS hatchback Torana drove from Perth to Geraldton to go see your cousin because it was his
Dennis.
last week. Dennis the Menace. It was his last week at the Geraldton newspaper, the community news. We drove up there in that 400 Chev powered SS Torana all the way there and all the way back.
Geez, that would have kept the locals on edge.
It was a good trip. We had a great time. And when you do it in a small car and there's so many people crammed in it, plus all that, we had our sleeping bags and so on and so forth. You kind of, when you get that foam packing, it's wrapped completely around the parts. That's what it's like. It was a cool trip. It was, both those trips were a lot of fun.
They sound like, you've already lived there. I can't honestly say I've done a decent road, not in something cool anyway. I've done lots of road trips, but they've always been in something bit mundane.
I want to do the Nullarbor. I want
Yeah.
to do the Nullarbor in the XY.
Well, I want to
think
do it in
that
the
would be-
XW, but everyone, when I say I'm going to take the XW over Australia, everyone just laughs. Everyone just loses.
Nah, no, mate, no. I will guarantee you, you'll not only make it there, you'll make it there without any dramas.
Yeah,
You
I
remember
know.
the old Valiant?
Yeah, you drove that
Yeah,
over,
well,
didn't
that drove across the Nullarbor more than once, towing a trailer with another car in the back. So
That's
those
what I
old
thought.
cars, if they're all as they left the factory, they're incredibly reliable.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we've got a road trip coming up when you get the XY
Maybe.
running. We'll do both the XW and the XY.
You know what, Nick? I'd go as far as to say I would feel more comfortable doing the Nullarbor in your XW than I would in your VE. Because I know every part that goes wrong with those VE transmissions. Right? And the only way you're going to stop the old Borg-Warner 35 is if you do a rollback in it.
I know, yeah, that does it. It just goes. And that's why I laugh. I said, why do people think that wouldn't make it over? I said it would make it anywhere in Australia. Easy.
And can you imagine the reaction that I got from people telling him, I'm going to drive across the Nullarbor in this 1970 Valiant with 245, Borg-Warner 35, Borg-Warner diff, and I'm going to tow a car behind it.
So the Datto, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Datto and a boot full of luggage and tools.
Yeah.
And, didn't miss a beat. And,
That was with Trevor
I
as
did
well,
that trip.
wasn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
A few different people came across with me
Yeah, okay.
over those couple of trips. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Trevor, we were in a rodeo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think the only thing I need to do to the XW is maybe change the clutch just to be sure. That would be the only thing. And if when we're doing the clutch...
is that manual?
Yeah,
is your car manual?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I always assumed it was auto.
No, manual. And if we're doing that, then we do the rear main at the same time. We'll get the engine out, do the clutch, do the rear main and get it back in, and then off we go. I reckon it's easy. Piece of piss.
Yeah. You've told me the rear main's more like a sprinkler system nowadays.
Yeah, it's not good. And if I need to get an engine crane and probably rip it out and get that attended to, really, to be honest with you.
Well, mate, now's the time to do it.
I know the COVID is upon us.
I have an engine crane you can borrow whenever you're ready.
Really? Okay. All right. There you go. And we'll just rip that out and put a new clutch in while we're at it, and then the job done, and it's ready to roll. Sounds, I've just convinced myself. Hey, we're going to take a short break here. When we get back, we'll wrap this podcast up, and we'll take a short break, and we'll be back right after this. All right, Simon, elephant in the room. The video's going viral. I won't say gone viral, but getting out there. A lot of people have commented. The Camry is up and running again. And now, I just want to start by saying there is no trickery or trick footage, or that car has literally stayed in that spot for 2 years, since the 24th of January to the 15th of March. So from the 24th of January 2018 to the 15th of March 2020, that is genuinely, that car has been sitting there. And I can vouch for that. So if people want to dispute, no one has, but if people want to dispute it, they can dispute it with me. But tell us, it's running again.
And a testimony to those batteries too. They're it's just incredible that after all that time you turn a key. Now I've been trying to burn up the fuel that's in the tank, and I've been trying to do some testing. When Jamie fitted the ECU, so that runs a Mega Squirt, and Jamie basically put that in an afternoon and put a base tune in it, which we then developed. He set it up so that there were all these other functions available to us, and one of them was a boost control function. So we ran that last time with what's known as a bleed valve, which is basically like putting a hole in the pipe going to the gates. So the gate had like a 14-pound spring in it, and we bled some air out to give it 22 pounds. What I'm trying to do, as you can see from all the videos, it spins the tires really, really badly. So I'm trying to do a boost ramp deal. So I bought some gate springs for it, and I've been mucking around with that. Unfortunately, I didn't actually physically look at the springs when I got them. I ordered them off eBay, and I got one of the guys to fit it to the car because I was busy on another job at the time. And the spring that they put in, unbeknownst to me, I've been struggling with this boost controller, was actually a higher boost than what we were running. So I've since found out that the gate that we're running, which has got Teal written all over it, is actually a Chinese copy of a Teal gate, and the Teal springs don't fit in the Chinese gate.
Yeah,
so
right.
Sometime this week I'll be off to Bunnings to see if I can get a wastegate spring, and then we'll get the boost controller. So I actually had a play when I went to work to grab all this equipment and get all set up for today. And I had a bit of a play with the boost controller. And yeah, after a few runs up and down the street, I realized that something wasn't quite right. So yeah, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on a launch control setup for it so we can get it to go A to B. The other thing that I've done, when we discussed this after we raced it, because we've never actually released any of the photos of the fabrication work, and I think that it'll still be a while before we show anyone all the little tricks that we got up our sleeves with that little car. But I hand-built a LSD unit for it. Very, very simple LSD unit. Actually, I over-engineered it, so it doesn't work that good. But we discussed...
I remember that. I remember that quite well.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful piece of machining.
It is. It is.
Anyway, so we discussed making the suspension so we could preload it. And I've actually done it, and I've done it in true Camry specifications. So I used everything. I purchased it all from Bunnings. So I've used a turnbuckle, right? And I'll get you to take some photos of this next time we've got the car on the hoist. I've used a turnbuckle, and I've made the suspension adjustable, and I've actually got it so that the LSD is working correctly now.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. It is scary as shit to drive, but it seems to have equal traction on both wheels. So that's going to be dramatic for the next time. Got the 235s fitted up onto the rims, test fitted them. I forgot that the reason we never ran them was because the steering is very limited.
That's right, yeah. I'd forgot that too now.
So I've spoken to Glenn or Nelg. Nelg's Alley Mods, as he's better known. And I've got the car booked in for this week, depending on how he goes work-wise. And he's going to remake the intercooler pipe that we knocked up. Probably 2 o'clock in the morning or something. He's going to remake it, and hopefully we'll have enough clearance to run the 235s. And that's about it. But I haven't been able to burn up all the fuel because it nearly had a full tank when we parked it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm getting through it. So as soon as I use up all that fuel, we'll get a fresh tank in it, and we'll do some more tuning. And we still need to put the other motor together. So
the hot motor.
Fingers crossed. Yes. I wouldn't say hot. I didn't steal any of the parts, but
no, that was my reference. But anyway,
it's got slightly better cod rods and pistons. But no, seriously. So I hope to get that together sometime soon, and we'll get that in the car. So, hopefully when everything goes back to normal and the season, next season starts or the track reopens, we'll see what we can get out of it. I know that at the end of part 4, I think it was, when we got back from the track and we had a bit of a chat. I know that I said that I was done with the standard engine because it was a hand grenade waiting to go off. But I kind of feel as though I can pull the pin out just a little bit longer.
Just
we'll see if we can crack an 11.
You put it back in for 2 years, so we just pulled it out. see how that goes. Isn't it funny?
That's another thing too.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is in the video, you see there's a bit of smoke coming from the exhaust. Yeah, that's clearing up. It seems like the more boost I put in it, the cleaner the exhaust becomes.
That was genuinely not driven for 2 years. So, I mean, that was actually not a lot of smoke, really, for a car that hadn't been driven and a turbo that hadn't spooled for 2 years. It's pretty good.
I think what happened was that the turbo drain, because of how it's hooked up, I think the turbo was actually full of oil.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I think the turbo might actually be a little bit lower than the oil level, especially when the front tyres were fucked. So
yeah, okay.
We'll get there with it. We'll get there.
It's a lot of fun. It's great to have the Camry back because it's a good little, it's a fun little car to drive. No, it's not little, but it's a fun car to drive, and it's great we get it back. And I think a lot of people, will be excited to see it back. The commentary that we've had around the Camry back into life, I've got to be honest with you, has been awesome. A lot of people sending us messages saying, great to see this car back. We want to see more videos. We want to see the car. Once we're through this mess, this COVID-19, we'll have that car out everywhere as much as we can. We'll get it out
definitely
at the track, but not only track, car shows. We're all fanging to get that car out there and show it to the people because the people love it. It's got a little bit of a following,
Nick, I've built a lot of cars over the last 30 plus years. Or more than that, because I started when I wasn't even a teenager. There's been some killer cars, customers' cars, my own cars, and so on and so forth over the years. Cortina, one of my favorites. Still looking for that car. I think I might have actually seen it on the road. I think it's painted black now.
The Cortina. Okay.
Yeah. I think the guy lives somewhere near me.
Mm-hmm.
I've come across it a couple of times going to work, and there's a few body modifications that I did that look very, very familiar on this black one. So he may have just done the same mods, but anyway, nonetheless, I don't think anything has put a smile on my face as much as that Camry, because when someone that's spent $100,000 on HSV takes off from the traffic lights and he looks across and there's a Camry right next to him.
It looks exactly the same as my mother-in-law's Camry.
It's just hilarious, like the looks that you get.
I know. It is awesome. It is a fun car, and I actually said to my wife the other day, I said, we can have some fun with your mum, with this car, because I said, I reckon I can go swap the cars out in the garage and she probably wouldn't even notice.
She wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know until, it would be funny anyway, but we'll see. We'll see what we'll do.
Just tell her you gave it a tune up.
It's a little bit different, Mum. Don't worry. It's all good. Oh, God. Hey, look, Simon, I think that's just about it. I don't know where Todd is, and I'll have to give him a call after this and find out if he's okay. But anyway, thanks for joining us. What are the plans? What do you got coming up, apart from work and just ticking along?
More on the Camry. On the Camry. Yeah, definitely. I want to get that to a point where, because I kind of feel as though when we parked it up, we achieved what we wanted to, but it was like it sort of came to us a bit too easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, it would be fun to crack an 11 out of it with a standard engine. So I want to do a little bit more on that. Once I've gotten that to the point where I'm happy with it, I'll try and find some time to finish putting the other motor together, and get a little bit of work done on the BA. That motor's got to come out. It's got to have rods put in it. because we basically didn't do any of that kind of maintenance when we ran it a couple of years ago, and maybe get some work done on the XY. But you know what, Nick? I'll be honest. Just being at home over the last few days, because normally, Easter you're out visiting family and so on and so forth. It's hard for me to stay back at work when I know that my wife's here, myself with the kids, and I'm missing out on time with them.
Yeah.
They're at that age now where they're just really fun to be around. Even when they're having temper tantrums and stuff, it's still funny.
Yeah.
So,
No, I completely understand that, and that's fair enough. You got such young children as well. I mean, mine are older now, so they don't miss me as much. So, but yeah,
they should be working on the car.
Oh God, don't start me. That's another whole episode. If you want to go down that path, that is another whole episode. I think, was I talking about it with you or someone? I was working on it over the Christmas break, fixing up a few oil leaks, except for the rear main. There were a couple of other oil leaks, and they were playing basketball around my feet. I'm underneath the car and they're playing basketball. No interest whatsoever. None whatsoever. The youngest one's interested in cars, but helping out, working on cars, not their thing. Just not for them. Not for them. So anyway, that's okay. I've accepted that. I don't mind, but can't get them interested. Can't get them motivated. So.
Oh, you never know, Nick. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, speaking of other podcasts, we're doing podcasts once a week these days. So we on the off week of the Talk and Power podcast, we also do stories from the garage, and that's where we talk to people out there, out and about, just about their builds. And we've done a couple of interviews. We've got another one coming out next week as well. So in our off week of the Talk and Power podcast, we do that one as well. So we're trying to give you guys as much as possible. We're trying to give you a podcast once a week. That's our aim now, moving forward. So just keep the content coming, and then there'll be no doubt more Camry videos coming as well. We're going to have a lot of fun with that car. And by the sounds of it, maybe a road trip as well at some stage. Don't know when, but yeah, maybe.
I'm up for it.
I'm going to pull my finger out there and get that motor out, get that rear main done, get a clutch in, and then we're good to go. All right, Simon, look, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in on this public holiday. It's much appreciated. And yeah.
Well, I didn't have to.
I know, that's the beauty about it. You can do it from your house now. So the next few podcasts will be like this until further notice, until things change in our lives. But rest assured, we are bringing you content. So don't panic. We got stuff coming. And there's a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're going to have to stop doing the podcast." I said, no way. Now more than ever, we need to produce stuff. And motorsport stopped, but motoring never stops. And the stories about cars and the cars that we've driven in the past, they never stop. So we'll keep pumping stuff out, no doubt. Okay, Simon. Well, look, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
All right. See ya. Take care.
See you on the
Talk and
street.
Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.